Hi everybody, welcome to the stream. It's time for another day of programming. So, yesterday, some of you all may have noticed I was having trouble committing my Git repository to the remote repo. And I found out why. Funny enough, my server, as I suspected, was having problems. What ended up happening is I have a program I wrote that runs on my Linux server as a Linux service called git blocker. One thing that started happening to my server was it was getting attacked by, well, not attacked, but more like it was getting scraped by tons of bots, right? And supposedly these are for, LLM models to develop to increase their code knowledge, right? It's used to train them, the knowledge that they gain. But it was negatively affecting the ability for my services, specifically my Git instance, to actually run. So I created a small program that allowed me to write or create firewall rules after analyzing the access logs of my server to determine which IP addresses or ranges cause issues, and then go ahead and block them. So that's essentially what I did. And so this thing runs live, and it actually maliciously marked my local host as a threat. And I guess it was around the time when I was doing a ton of commits, a pull, a restore of a repo, and I was doing like a pull request, a push. I was doing a ton of commits the other day, and that's supposedly what did it. So funny enough, my own program did not have any safeguards to stop it from blocking my own server. So what ended up happening was the server no longer had any access to the outside world or could communicate with it, which is why my server stopped responding to any requests. So that was a simple fix by making sure that localhost and any local IP addresses on my network are not considered blockable, and that's taken care of. So I ran that as well. So that was a fun little project and fun to investigate. I had to look at system logs and kind of backtrack to around the time where it was happening. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But anyways, on to today's project. So we recently made it so all the strategies in the game are now implemented nicely and no longer require us, when we have to do run strategy, to include these string names everywhere. Like, this is kind of redundant, right? Like, I wanted to run one function with the name of the script or the strategy, and that was that, because it uses the name when it's accessing these configuration files to figure out, or not this file specifically, but configuration file in general. I don't know where that is actually right now. monsterstrategies.txt. Where are you? Oh, it's right here. I just have like a split view right now. But yeah, it's used to determine which of the AI scripts in the game link to what configuration variables. So that's nice. All right, so on top of that, we have to actually implement the monster spells system still, and today we're going to make sure the mages have their correct movement patterns. We finally get to do some AI code, yay, which we haven't been able to do for quite a while because we were stuck doing all this. I did run unit testing last night to make sure my project is still in good shape, and it is. So all the crazy refactoring stuff we done and then undid and messed with didn't cause any issues with the actual game, which is awesome. I'm glad that we have that capability to make sure that the game is still running well, even after we make significant changes to the codebase. Anyways, on to fun stuff. So where we left off was inside of monster ability. We were implementing the Blizzard spell. Now the Blizzard spell, we created a special effect, which also has a special particle effect. So we're currently filling in all of the variables required to generate this effect. So for the constructor of the Blizzard object, we're currently on the lifetime of it. And as we go through and add these in, we're adding the parameters for it under the skeleton fire mage strategy, because all the mages are actually going to use the same strategy. And in fact, it would be more clever to call this the skeleton mage strategy instead of the fire mage strategy, wouldn't it? So I think I'm going to make that adjustment now for the sake of making sure that we are still okay. So I'm going to do that here, and then I'm going to go to Skeleton Fire Mage, the enum, and refactor that to be Skeleton Mage. And then after that, that will be linked to the string Skeleton Mage now. And this is nice because in the past, if I wanted to make this change, it would actually be very hard because this string would have to be passed around in many places and was very problematic. So... and sure, I could just do a find and replace in my project, but it runs the risk of typoing it as well in a bunch of places, and was unnecessary to carry that string around in every single location. So I'm glad we managed to correct that. So the lifetime of this blizzard duration, I think in the spec we mentioned 5 seconds, but let me go double check that. So we have a spec of the implementation of all these. Oh, I think it's down here. That's why I made a split tab. So we can see here for Blizzard, it has a 1.5 second cast time. It will last for 5 seconds, deals 50% attack damage per second. And the location where the mage is casting gets indicated. So yeah. In fact, I guess during this cast time, we wanted to display the circle then and not just after. So we had to make some kind of way to indicate that. I think what we should do is each spell could have an extra flag that says whether or not the precast location gets displayed. So maybe that would look something like this. If we're going to indicate how it's displayed, we're going to need to provide like a position and a radius. So I'm trying to think how we would incorporate that, because the radius actually comes from the variable over here. So maybe we can put the name of the variable for what it's supposed to represent. I'm thinking about it. So maybe something like this. We can put a comma here in the comment and indicate an optional variable for the variable representing the cast range, or the cast radius. I think that would be the best way to handle that, at least for now. We can go from there. So that would mean that in the monster source file, when we run perform spell down here, we're actually doing castability, because perform spell is when it actually triggers, but we have a separate one for when in the casting begins. So this is where we can say, okay, with this cast, what do we do? I actually see up here we have like cast info, so maybe this could be the structure we throw that into as well. The cast position is already included in here, so why not also add another value for what the cast radius would be? Right? I think that would be good. And this can be optional. That way we can check if it actually exists, because I could check for 0, but that's kind of weird. So I think having an optional here would be a good choice because it is an optional value. So with that being there, we want to first be able to populate it. So we have to go to wherever cast ability is called. It is called up here. And when we do that, we would need to populate the data under get abilities. So it's actually defining the monster ability data with the right information. So again, an optional float to represent the range or the radius of the cast. This way it could be displayed appropriately if the cast is occurring. The player knows where it's going to be casted before the cast actually finishes. That's the goal. It allows the player time to get out of the range of it before getting hit by it. So with that in place now, we can populate that data when we load in the configuration. So we're going to go to monster data, and under initialize, we're going to add in the monster ability data, or we're going to add to the monster ability data. So this is in PCs. So right here, under ability data, we're already going to in place back. This is a struct, so we can follow it up with the next value if it exists. So let's do it this way. Dot radius is going to be set equal to, and we're going to add a ternary here. The ternary will check if the number of values is elements is at least 4. So if we do ability dot get let me see if there is a size property or something. It looks like we have to do get keys, which I guess is okay. I wonder if this filtering function can still be updated. I think it can, and we should do that. So this was an optimization we were making when we were doing that refactor. I still want to make that optimization if possible, because you can see right now we're using a copy to create a brand new vector out of it. So it's a little expensive, and I want to fix that. We have the power of range views now, and I want to utilize that to make this better. So if I haven't already, I'm going to include the ranges library into here. And then from that, we're going to exchange this, and I'm just going to put an auto because the ranges library unfortunately is very verbose, and what we would have to type to create a sensible type value out of the ranges, the resulting return range would be a little bit insane. So we wouldn't have to do this anymore. Instead, we would return a view that has a filter view that checks for anything that is not a comment. Anything that is should be removed from it. So we're going to do a pipe and follow it up with filter of or standard ranges filter. No, I think you can just do I think it's just called filter, but let me double check. Ranges. Where did we do a filter before? Is what I'm curious about. Let me just find one of these real quick. See, we do have some copy of stuff here too, so we could probably make a similar optimization in some other places if we wanted to. That would be cool. Someday we may want to do that, but yeah, it's a standard views filter. So I was on the right track, but it's under the views namespace instead. And here you supply the predicate to filter out what you don't want from it. So I'm just pasting that into here. And the result is a view that only has those items in it. And this is a lot cheaper than copying a brand new vector. Which is nice. That's exactly what we want, right? So, yeah. And I would argue we want to do the same thing for that buff list thing. Now that I saw it when I was looking at that list, let's go there real quick and see if we can make another optimization. So I think that is specifically the get buffs function. I could be wrong, but oh, I guess they are local to each instance, both player and monster. So get buffs by buff type. We can see here we kind of do a very like crude method of this by returning a vector containing buff types with all of these copied in. So that's not quite what we want to do. If we really want to get a list of buffs, I think I'd rather just do a filter view, just like before. So instead, we'll just take the original buff list and we'll pipe it through standard views, filter, and the filter function again will be this one right here, and we'll return that filtered range instead. And of course, since we changed this to be auto, we're gonna have to go in here and do the same thing, like so. And that will fix it. So yeah, I was talking about this earlier, but the return types for views get a little weird. So naturally, we just auto it because there would just be so much to type here. It'd be like standard filter or standard views or ranges filter view, pre-filter something, blah blah blah. It just gets really messy, so we don't do that. And then here, let's take a look. So right here, get buffs now returns that view, which means size is not available. Oh, it actually is. I wonder why that doesn't work then. No instance of overload function filter view matches the argument list. Okay. I'm a little confused because that, like, size is a thing. So I'm not sure what it's quite complaining about here. Maybe if we compile, it'll be a little more descriptive for us. And we'll see what that says. But I like this idea because then we don't have to create a brand new vector just to get a list of these to mess with. And then we have this edit buffs function, which is very similar. It's just it gets a reference to the buffs instead. So we could do quite the same thing if we wanted to. You know what? I think size might not be const. Maybe that's the issue. It's entirely possible size might not be const. But the error is talking about how... Yeah, it says there's no instance of size, standard range filter view size that matches const. Yeah, I think const is the problem here. But saying const standard vector... So let me back up a little bit, and instead of returning the view as a const view, I'll just return it. Non-const. It still complains. So that doesn't seem to be it, but let's see what the error actually says. A function that returns auto cannot be used before it is defined. Okay, so I that's after it's defined, right? So So ranges filter, this is what we were talking about earlier. Conversion loses qualifiers, the const qualifiers. So trying to match argument list nothing. Standard ranges filter view cannot convert this pointer from const to filter view. Interesting. I guess in this case, let me see, because this function is const, so I wonder if that's the issue. Oh, I deleted it. That's not what I wanted. I don't think that would matter. Right? Conversion loses qualifier. This is weird. Am I gonna not be able to use this then? Like, so through these, I guess under normal circumstances, I would iterate through them, right? It's like get buffs. Normally I would, I guess I'm seeing if there is an item in it. There must be another thing I can do with this. Right? Like view interface dot size. It must be what it returns doesn't work as a comparison versus this, right? I guess we're gonna take a look at what this actually is now. Standard ranges filter view size. Following types are derived from view interface and do not declare their own size member function, but they cannot use the default implementation because their iterator and sentinel types never satisfy size sentinel 4. A class template is not a class. Standard ranges view interface does not have a size member. Other instantiations of view interface do. The documentation for view interface mentions that size is only present if its sentinel and iterator type satisfies size sentinel 4. So this is just like you have to iterate through it anyway, right? It's like we take this range and we just go with it. So it'll be like, okay, this is a buff from the view that we get. And this turns into like, okay, so a for each, right? For each buff, add this to it, but then we have to get it, of course. So, oh, I think I see what's going on now, right? It would look like this. We're saying for each. That's what we would be doing here. That's fancy. I like that. Okay. Because in the for loop, the size, I guess they're calling it the sentinel, is determined at that moment. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to undo the constness things that I accidentally did here earlier. And we can go back here and match them up, I think. Excuse me. I undid too much. And then from there, we're back over here where it's like, okay, we return edit buff and we edit buffs 0. Okay, I see now. So we do... Because if the size is greater than 0, the for loop will go through it, and then the return will instantly break it off, which is fascinating. I think that's very fascinating. So, yeah, we just do edit buff, and this is going to be const, I think. The object has type qualifiers that prevent a match. Right, so... it's going to be const buff matches the argument list, and object has type qualifiers that prevent the match. So what comes out of this is const. Object type is const filter view, but this is a regular filter view. Do I have to like... do I have to const cast it? I don't know. We could try, but... I don't think that's a thing. It sounds kind of weird. Yeah, auto is not allowed here, so we would have to get the type and go from there. I think it's just get buffs can't have a const here. How do you handle entities in your game? Using ECS or other approach? It's just iterating through lists. The game has a list for monsters, a list for bullets, a list for like the particles. And we just iterate through those and run all their functions. Run all their stuff. Okay, so this is going from a... oh, it's an iterator, so I have to use that? No? What is this? Because it's supposed to be a const buff. To buff type? Wait, buff type? Oh, I see. I called this buff and it wants this buff, so I need to call this like the filtered, or... yeah, I'm just gonna call this the filtered buff. We don't actually need it, we're just seeing if it exists, basically. To return, and if we got here, then we return this instead. Kind of weird, but it works. That way we can use the ranges instead of making this, which we still have to fix this too. So we would do essentially the same thing, is instead of doing a filtered buffs with the reference wrapper here, we just say, okay, instead, spit out buff list with that predicate again. Now, what is the difference between get buffs and edit buffs then? I almost want to argue there is none anymore if I removed the const from those buffs. That's interesting. Because the constness is gone now. Technically, whatever comes out of here, you can edit. In theory. It's just the only way we enforce constness now is by adding const to the loop, but technically they aren't const anymore. So that's fascinating. I think, yeah, I think this goes away and now we just do get buffs because that's originally what it was for. So this becomes get buffs. But this is edit buff with an index now, which is kind of... I don't know why we do this. I don't even think it's used, really. Let's see. We use it for adrenaline rush buff. Let me take a look at how we use it, because if we're not accessing more than the 0th index, then that doesn't really matter. So we use it here. And yeah, we get the 0th index, so this really doesn't matter if we're just gonna get the first one. So I guess what this means is we probably just get rid of this and return all of them, because now there's no cost to getting any specific buff. So we can get all the buffs at the same time. And I like that. So we can remove this whole edit buff thing, which originally was enforcing constantness, which I don't think we need anymore. And then the one place where we do use it, now instead we go ahead and get the buffs that are of type Adrenaline Rush, and we iterate through them and find at least one. So, or we can do it for all of these, because what does this do? So this says if the player has Bloodlust and Adrenaline Rush dot size is greater than 0. I don't even know if this works. I'd argue this doesn't work now, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this errors out. We have to do something different with it being arranged now. So instead, we would iterate through them and say, okay, for Adrenaline Rush, we assumed that there was only one. Can there be more? Let me think. Bloodlust. I don't think there could be more than one Bloodlust, but if there is, we would just increment all of them. That would actually make sense. So this is going to become a 4. This is going to iterate through all Adrenaline Rush buffs, and is going to increment said buff. And that's really the only thing we have to fix, because it's the only place I use is edit buff. So that's fixed, and that just makes it so everything's more optimized and nice. And this will just add a new buff, or edit. It will either create a new buff or edit a previous buff by providing the reference to it. So either way, we're doing this now. No, that's not true. If it already exists, return that buff. So we literally just return it now. So that's what it's supposed to look like, I think. Although I think the constantness is not making it not work. So it'd be that. Qualifiers dropped in binding reference. Const buff. What, it was const here? Oh, it is a const iterator. That's funny. Let me think about that then. We're making get buffs non-const, I guess. Yeah. It's like whatever I do here determines the constness of it. So that's interesting. But yeah, we're gonna remove all the constantness that this function originally came with. I don't think we really need to anymore. Hi Plasticky! Welcome to the stream! Good to see you! I hope you're doing well. I hope anybody watching is doing well. Okay, so that's all fixed. I just want to optimize that on top of everything else. I think Monster needs this done too, so we'll do the same changes. I don't think it's quite as elaborate, like we don't have edit buff, but I think we have like add buff still, and get buffs, so you can see here we're returning vectors for these. So once again, we can change this out. And it looks like we even have multiple buff types, potentially. But I probably want to make this a const and a reference, because we don't really need to copy that. It's a small copy, but it's a copy nonetheless. So that's going to be updated. And we're not going to be returning a vector anymore, but we'll be returning autos that match the filter we're going to provide here. I've been thinking about my Animal Crossing village. I don't think I'm a good mayor. Well, aww. I don't think I'm a good mayor either. That's okay. Your villagers have forgiveness. They don't mind. They'll still be there for you. Alright, so once again, we're doing standard views filter. And we're going to provide this filter function. And I presume that the buffs are not going to be const anymore. That might change, but I presume they won't be. I'll leave it const for the time being. And we'll see what happens. Did I not change the other one? That one's going to be auto now as well. And basically the same thing. It's just we iterate through all the buffs and add all those to the filter. So how do we do that? We basically check through all of these through using standard find. Is there a better way to do this? Let me think about that. If we're searching for multiple buffs, I guess standard find is fine. As ranges also have a begin and end, so I think that works just fine. We shouldn't have any issues implementing it in the same way. So this becomes standard views, filter view. And then iterate through all these. I feel like there's probably a range function that will accept another range to look for an entire filter through. But this is an okay alternative as well. I don't think we mind that at all. Yeah. I think that's perfectly fine. And from here, we can see what else we have to do here. Cannot deduce the return type of function get buffs. It has not been defined. Oh, that's interesting. Really? I guess it's because the header uses auto. So how do we auto deduce that? Like, I guess we can provide the actual return value itself if we really want to. It's just a mouthful to type out, that's the problem. Like, we can go to, because there's a hint for this, if we go to like one of these. Oh, we're gonna have to change these now, don't we? But yeah, iterate through these. Get buffs is not const, so we have to drop the internal const here. Which I think is fine. I'm not really too against doing that. That's okay. So long as we get that done. I think that's why I had a separate get buffs and edit buffs before. But I think I want to get rid of this now. Yeah. I know I was enforcing a lot of constness with this, but as long as we enforce const here when we iterate through them, we're still safe. Just, yeah. Anyways, we can say that this is a standard ranges filter view, standard ranges ref view, standard vector buff if we really want to, comma lambda blah blah blah. That's gonna have to be created though. It's like a template. And I think that's why... Oh, is this fine now? I don't know if this will be fine, but this isn't fine, so we have to fix that too, right? So once again, we have to iterate through it. And this is quite a bit to change, isn't it? But that's fine. Buff, curse, or spreading pane. Buff. from here. Like, we're going to assume we only have one, right? But, of course, having more is also entirely possible. Const again? Oh, this function is const. Okay. That's weird. I don't think that's how this works. Oh, the get buffs from monster is still const. That's why. Let me remove these. Yeah, we don't need those anymore. So I guess I'll put on this for now, just to have something in the background. Okay, so those are non-const now, which should make the spreading pain buff now possible. So Curse of Pain, and iterate through Curse of Pain, or add it if it doesn't exist. So I guess this should change to a has buff, right? Yeah. I don't know why I don't use has buff for this. Maybe has buff didn't exist before this. Maybe that's why. So if has buff, then we're going to edit that buff. Although edit buff is redundant now, isn't it? So we don't even need that. And once again, we have that same paradigm of we created something to return all the buffs, but it was a non-const version. We separate const and not const. I think we made it pretty explicit because we wanted to enforce const correctness, but I think this goes a little too far for that, in my opinion. So I don't like what that's turned into, which is my biggest gripe with it. So instead we're gonna unconst the get buffs, and that's how we're gonna access it. So we can do it like that, where we just iterate through the for loop. If we find one, we edit it, and then we can continue. As in we can, like, maybe we do a go to. That's what I was originally thinking. We can break out of there and ignore this, or we had a boolean, right? So we just say const bool has Curse of Pain. I mean, that's what this is for, but I guess to make it a little more readable, it looks something like this. And then we can say, if has Curse of Pain, then we'll just iterate through them and change them. Otherwise, we'll do this code. And get buffs that are Curse of Pain, and modify them. So it is possible we could add some checks here. Like, what we could say is, if you have more than one Curse of Pain buff, then it's unintended, right? That's definitely a possibility. Curse of Pain buff. Iterate through those, and simply set the duration to be equal to the original duration of that buff. Like so. Okay. Can we go one step further and shrink the lines like this? Okay. I think that's good. I like how that's turned out. There are some more places that we have to edit, so let's go through that now. These are all going to be related to const. So with the removed constness from a lot of these, which is fine. I don't really think we have to totally enforce that. I'm not sure why. Am I in the wrong class? Oh, I'm in monster data when I should be in monster. It doesn't exist for monster according to this. Get move speed. Oh, it's probably because I deleted the const, so it can't find the original. Yes. Okay. Then we scroll down here. So I think the key is we modify the declaration first and then change the definition after. So knockback buffs. Again, now this will be a range, so we can just poof right in there. That's that. More errors. Let's see. Standard clamp. For what? We have error types? Why do we have error types? Get size molt? I don't understand. Oh, because get size molt was const to... Oops, I'm holding spacebar, I think. Suddenly I can't... What? Oh. Holding shift does that. Okay, you're right. I forgot to release the shift key. It's like my brain gave up for a second. Right, so set X... Wait, I'm confused. Why was that even a thing? I think IntelliSense was very confused. It was like catching up or something. So anyways, once again, the glow purple buff. We're going to iterate... Glow purple buff, if we have it, gets set to this. I mean, that's fine. And then we can break. I guess if we just break right away, we always only get the first one, right? So, I mean, that's fair. Buff B, and we can make that const. And glow purple buff will be equal to whatever the first one is. Object type is const monster. Oh, so it's considered, draw's considered const? Well, that can't be the case anymore. It's calling a non-const function. We're gonna lose a lot of const correctness if we have to rely on this, I guess, which kind of sucks. It cascades. It makes me think that's probably why I did it, because get buffs is considered a getter, right? So realistically, it should be returning const. That makes me kind of regret doing that, because yeah, we lose const correctness anywhere this requires, which kind of sucks because we originally wanted const correctness for all of this. I don't know, this is gonna be tough because I'm gonna have to change this everywhere. This cascades, as we can clearly tell. So I'm kind of running into my own trap here. So the question is, do I fix this now? The question is, how do I get the const correctness back here? Because I think this doesn't, well, first of all, that shouldn't exist anymore. But I don't think this return type works anymore. Let me see though. Does it? It looks like we can return it as const, which means anything coming out of it should be fine, right? Like, can this internally be considered const then? Yeah, so what was my issue originally, right? Let's see. Because if we're coming in here, it says, no instance of function matches the argument list in object. The object has type qualifiers that prevent a match. Object type is considered const filter view. So, is the problem filter view begin? Is there no const begin for this? Is that the issue? There is. Is that not what we use? Like that would be what gets used, right? I would presume so. A little confusing. Like that shouldn't work because what's coming out of this is const, right? So maybe we can see if this has issues elsewhere. Const standard ranges filter view. Why can't I call ranges begin on a const filter view? All the views in standard range are lazy by design. Under the hood, they usually do much more on begin and in iterator operations than regular containers. To be able to maintain this laziness, some internal state is required. Oh, that kind of sucks. So it makes perfect sense since there can be an internal state which begin can modify. They cannot be made const. So what we're saying is, if we choose to use the ranges method, then we lose the const ability. Period. We just lose that fact in general. When are you gonna release your game? Hopefully this year. That would be great. I mean, if I keep working on it as I have been as of late, then I think we're on good track for it to be released sometime near the middle or end of this year. I don't expect it to take too much longer. But yeah, I think we have to accept we lose the ability to just have that const correctness anymore, which kind of sucks. It also means I have to change everything about this. So this is, once again, a bigger refactor than I was expecting. Kind of unfortunate. Is it worth the cost? I kind of like it though, so maybe we'll go with it and see what it happens. Like, I do like it, just I didn't realize that we were gonna lose const correctness when this occurred, so that's unfortunate. Don't we have a has buff now? Has buff. Why do we have has buff here when we have a has buff here? Find if. I'm starting to think this is not worth it. Because looking at it, it's like, that kind of sucks. You lose the ability to use const through ranges, right? That kind of sucks. Alright, I guess we're gonna, I don't know. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, let's just stick with what we know. The standard stuff. So I'm just gonna review all my changes, make sure this is all just buff related. And we can undo this file. Yeah, we're just gonna go back. The more I look at this, the more I realize, yeah, this is... I thought this was just going to be one change in a range in get buffs, and then everything would use the ranges, but no, this is like, okay, now const correctness can't be used, so that's entirely out of the picture. That's a no-go for me. Alright, why do we have changes in other stuff? That's fine. That's fine. We were working on that, so I guess the only other change was in player. Also buff related? Yeah, okay, so we're gonna undo all those. That kind of sucks though, doesn't it? We just lose const correctness if we choose to use ranges. Good to know. That means it's a little more restrictive than I originally intended it to be. Huh. Funny. Because I was thinking, oh, we can just make this optimization there too. Not quite. Okay, so back to what we were doing then. We got sidetracked. We were working on... Let's see here. Yeah, so we were working on monster ability, which led us to Blizzard, because we were doing the precast stuff. That's what we were doing. So for the precast stuff, that is going to be under... We have that data now filled out under monster data, or we should. So I'm gonna go back and check real quick. Yeah, we added the radius here, but the reason why was because get ordered keys got optimized. That's what started this whole thing. I did this, and I'm like, okay, cool. So we were saying if get keys dot size is greater than 0, which means we actually have, or not 0, 4 members? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we were to... So ability is the splitting of... Wait, no, that's not right. We're looking at the arguments inside of ability. So it's ability dot get value count. That's what it is. We had this the whole time. I just forgot that was there. So is equal to 4. I would say if it's greater than 4, that's actually an error. But let's say greater than or equal to 4 here. And if we do have that many, I guess that's going to be our optional initialization. So one thing you can do when initializing an optional is you can specify what the default value will be if a condition is not met, right? So it's going to be like... I think we just type radius here. Well, I guess it doesn't exist yet, so never mind that. Let me see. I think optional... constructors have some fancy things, though. Take a quick peek. This is how you learn new things, by the way. You just always look to see if there are other ideas. This won't pop up anymore. Dang it. Okay, let me look at CPP ref real quick. Like, I wonder if there's a way to construct, well, not this. Constructor. So you can construct with an optional. Another optional whose contain value is copied. But you can also provide, yeah, just an empty object, which would be essentially nothing. So it would be the empty object or null opt t. So essentially that's what we do, is we initialize it with null opt t if there's nothing for us to add there. So get value count is greater than or equal to 4. Then that means we read it in. So ability dot get real 3. Otherwise, we read in standard null opt t or null opt. Expression must have arithmetic or unscoped enum type. I guess we do that then, right? A standard optional float. Like so. That way it's empty if otherwise. Is that not good enough? Oh, then we have to close this object. Yes. So something like that. But I think this is a requirement, like it's not implicit. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay. So I'm happy with that. That gives us a radius if it exists, And then if the radius exists, we're going to display that when a monster casts their ability. So we're going to go back down to cast spell in monster.cpp. And now we're going to add in, well, actually we go to the draw function because we already have this handled kinda. Cast info. I guess we do have to pass it into here too, don't we? Yeah. So we would pass the cast radius through there. Cast radius equals data dot radius. And then we're going to go to the draw function now. And under here, we're going to add in a targeting circle to be drawn if the monster is targeting somewhere. It should be drawn underneath the sprites and pretty much anything else. So we're going to make sure it's at least drawn under that. So it's probably just going to be drawn right at the beginning here. So we're going to say if cast, it would be current cast, I think. If current cast, which means it actually exists, then we're gonna see, I guess if current cast, then we also have to see if that current casting radius now exists. So, and current cast radius. I didn't know this had precedence over that. Just want to make sure we're doing the right thing, right? It seems like we are because the IntelliSense gave me the right result. So does the asterisk have precedence? Pointer to member. And then let's see here. Member access is before pointer to member. Oh no, or in direction. So is this wrong? I guess I would first grab the actual object and then do dot cast radius like so. So we have to see if this is also true. But I didn't know you could just do that directly too. That's actually really cool. I like that. That way you don't have to make your syntax all funky. I really like that. So if current cast and cast radius exists, then we're going to draw a circle. So that circle, again, will be like that targeting circle that we had before, but I guess it's going to be like a different color. It'll be like an orange color or something. We can actually copy most of it from the Blizzard ability, because we wrote that earlier with that intention in mind. So, yeah, it would be this right here, the Blizzard Snow Emitter. No, that's not it. Aiming target right there. It creates its own effect that has that. So maybe we're just gonna copy this for the most part to indicate that for us. So back over here, I'm just gonna put that in. We're gonna say game add effect, and then we're gonna do standard make unique effect, and provide the following parameters. And then we're gonna have to, of course, change all these. So first is the position itself. We have all of that, so current cast pause, the lifetime. So the lifetime will actually be whatever the current cast's remaining cast time is, interesting enough. So we can do cast timer here, but this is going to be adding an effect for every single frame. So this is actually not what we want. We're gonna draw something that then gets drawn in the game afterwards, so yes. So we're gonna actually create the aiming target effect down here. And we know current cast is now live because we just created it. So we're just making sure that a radius exists now. So if current cast radius, then we can add an effect. Because if there is no radius, we don't care about adding a casting circle. So now we have, this is the lifetime, so it'll be the cast total time. We'll use the aiming target, it'll be based on upper level. We want to make sure this effect is a background effect, so we're going to set to the Boolean flag at the end of all this to true. It's going to be behind everything. Upper level. Radius. So we have current cast radius. And that's a float, so that should work. Oh, we can get the value of that. So we learned through the C++ operator precedence that this has precedence over this, which has precedence over mathematical operators. As we can see, mathematical operations occur further down this list, like multiplication, division, modulus, addition, subtraction, bit shifting, followed by all equality comparisons. And then all these remain the same, we just have to change the color. So because this is a cast versus that blizzard from earlier, we're going to do an orange-ish color. I think that would be fine. Something like this, maybe this one. I like that one. 247, 183, 82. And we'll do half transparency again, that's fine, with additive blending. I don't know why it's arguing about this. It says VF2D, float, constr, bool, v2d float, float. Oh, it doesn't know what this is, does it? This should be a VF2D. So that's fine. It's still not happy. Oh, it doesn't know what this is. That's a pixel. And now it's okay. Cool. So that's all well and good. That creates like a precast of where it's going to be. So anything that requires a, or that shows a cast radius will now actually display it in game when the monster is creating it. So we should see it in game when we actually try to cast this now. Let's go back to monster ability. And let's finish up with actually creating the blizzard ability now. So the blizzard ability, again, has a 5-second lifetime, which is the blizzard duration. And then after that is the damage amount. So blizzard tick damage is 50%. So we'll do 0.5 times there. And that's going to be an int? No, it's a float, like it's a multiplier. So we're actually going to pass in the monster's blizzard, or monster's attack when this occurs. So m.get attack multiplied by whatever the blizzard duration multiplier is, or not blizzard duration, tick damage mult. Like so. And then we move on to the tick rate. The tick rate is every second, so blizzard tick rate. Now we'll go here. And then the next argument is the snow size range. So this is how large the snow can actually be. So we want to do something between... I think range is just min-max. It says here buff duration. Oh, buff duration and buff intensity. That doesn't sound right. I think this is a different range, and we're using the wrong range. Let's look at the Blizzard header real quick, because something's not right about that. It's either in here or it's in the effects header. So this range is a standard pair min scale max scale. Where did that come from? Effect. Very likely came from effect, right? Let's look it up, I guess. Range. I don't know if this shows... I guess it doesn't show usings. Let's look for using range equals. And see if we can pinpoint where this is from. It's from Blizzard's snow emitter. Okay, so that would explain that. In our case, we want to also use that when representing effects in general, because this is related to buffs. So if we include the effect header, which we definitely do, or do we? I don't know if we do, but we definitely include Blizzard, so that's gotta be... Let's try to put this in the effect header instead, as that seems more sensible to me, especially since it's all effect related. I am getting Pirate Software Blizzard flashbacks, really? Oh, because of the Blizzard effect? I'm like, why would you be getting that? What did I do wrong? Yeah, because the attack's called Blizzard. That's funny. Okay, so it doesn't want to switch. So I have two things called range. Do I want to get rid of one? Or do I want to rename one? Or do I just want to put a using over here like this? I feel like all options here are silly. I don't know which one I like more. But I will do that for now. I guess the IntelliSense still says it's a buff duration. I hope it's not gonna... But actually, I will explicitly write this, because it looks like we're getting confused about what this is supposed to be anyway. So yeah, that's a standard pair. Let's go for 1 to 2 for now. I feel like that's reasonable. And then the emitter frequency. So what I would like to do is find a decent value that will constantly make this spawn up. So if we look at the snow emitter again, I think we start by iterating 100 times. Yeah, let's just take a look at this real quick. I think when I started, I just called it 100 times from Blizzard. Blizzard.cpp. Yeah, I just ran it 100 times here, but I guess this could be a configuration parameter. Nothing wrong, just made me go watch and edit again. Oh yeah, the Blizzard, I work for Blizzard. That's funny. Emitter frequency. Okay, so let's say that most of these last for a maximum of 10 seconds each, and we want to keep like 100 on the screen at the same time. Like, I'm thinking the frequency should be like 0.01, considering they'll spawn randomly too. I guess this is just gonna have to be tuned depending on how well it is, how it looks. So 1 every 100th of a second, maybe? That one. That one, yeah. 100 times a second sounds really fast. I don't think that's what I actually want. I want 1 every 10th of a second. Okay, upper level, that's going to match the monster's upper level. And whether or not it's friendly, it's not friendly. So friendly type. So finally, all of this coming together in a way where the config stuff has been redone for monster strategy. The friendly type now is actually an enum, so we actually know what that value represents. And we've made a couple of optimizations under the hood and implemented the spell effect system. Hopefully everything we've been putting together over this past week can culminate to finally seeing something nice come out of it. So yeah, identifier range is required in here, which we would have to include effect for, which I don't think has any bad effects here. Let me see. Oh, it does, because we include Blizzard Snow Emitter here. Because that... Wait, do we even need that anymore? I thought I made it a pointer. Yeah, so it's a unique pointer here. So this include isn't actually needed anymore, which then will allow me to include it in the header file, because we won't have any circular header references now. Okay. Let's try building now. Blizzard Snow Emitter is an undeclared identifier. Oh, we just have to specify it's a class that exists. But because it's a unique pointer, this is... we can forward declare it. So we will. Forward declaration is only useful if you're using pointers. But it prevents you from going into circular header dependencies when you have stuff built like that. You just have to let the compiler know it exists somewhere, and it's just a pointer. Because the pointer type is a fixed size, so it doesn't need to allocate more than a pointer. That's the logic behind that. Okay, so we'll see if this works. We'll see if the Blizzard effect comes out. We'll see if the targeting circle comes out, and all of that has to be, like, in the correct spot, too, so... There's a lot of things we get to check now that's come up. Failed to build. Use of undefined type Blizzard Snow Emitter in Blizzard, because originally we were supposed to include it in effect. Now, including it in the Blizzard header, or including Blizzard Snow Emitter here is fine. This is the source file, so making it known here is perfectly okay. That's just an oopsie on my part. Skeleton Mage is not a member of... Oh, right, I changed the name of it. So, for the Skeleton Fire Mage strategy, it's now just gonna use Skeleton Mage. Skeleton Fire Mage. Where's the file? Oh, over here. Oh, it doesn't think Skeleton Mage exists? Really? Wait, what's going on here? The search results I got point to Skeleton Mage. Oh, for these two. We didn't add the enum, did we? I must have forgot. That's in Monster. So we probably just forgot to add the enum. That's my bad. So this function is now called Skeleton Mage. And... do these go away now? I'm trying to think. Do these go away? Yeah, these aren't necessary anymore. Why would we need the strategy name? We don't need it anymore, do we? That's old. We do need the strategy names for these because we have to know from which strategy we're getting a configuration value from. But it shouldn't be in these anymore. This is old. I expect that I just forgot about it. Because we removed it before and then added it back in later for whatever reason. I think it was when I was undoing all my string view stuff, I just forgot. So that all goes away. Which means, luckily, I just have a... Oh, that's where the Skeleton Fire Mage was defined. This is a monster.h. Luckily, it's all just one define here, so I just change it here and that fixes everything. So I just have to do... Well, that makes it... This makes it so config floats work inside of it. Like configs in general. So no, that's a requirement. It's just abstracted away with that. It's just hidden away. So no, this is still required. But changing the enum was required. Anything else? Or are we actually building now? It looks like so far we're building. One thing I also want to set up, probably I'll do tonight, is I want to get my Linux machine working again. Because I do have a laptop with Linux on it, but it is from 2010. Trying to build the game on that would literally take like 30 minutes. Not to mention I have to get GCC at least like 14 or something, because my project requires C++20. And the default installs of GCC are usually only C++14 compatible. So, unfortunately, I typically have to compile GCC myself whenever I have to compile for Linux on any system I use. If there are any distros that automatically come with the latest versions of GCC, I would love to know. I'm sure a Google search might help me find that too. What happened here? We're trying to do something here. First reference to standard unique pointer in Blizzard. Okay, it doesn't like this. I thought since this is a pointer, I wouldn't have to actually declare it here. Use of undefined type. That's interesting. I thought you could create a unique pointer without defining the type. Can't delete an incomplete type. Why would we be deleting one? Skeleton Mage is also an undeclared identifier in run strategy? What do you mean? I just added the enum, didn't I? Did I undo it by accident? Like, I swore I just did this. Oh. Well, I undid it, I guess. I could have sworn you could initialize, or you could forward declare for your unique pointers. So I'm a little surprised that that is actually an issue. Let's do a quick experiment while we're waiting for the compile. Gonna open my example project real quick. And let's just do let's say that we have a class that exists somewhere, but we haven't defined it. So I'm just gonna say class, new class, and I'm just forward declaring it, so I'm saying it exists somewhere, but I'm just going to make or have a unique pointer of it exist here for now. Like so. Just an empty unique pointer, right? I'm surprised that this would not be allowed, you know? So try building that real quick. And it does fail. So, yeah. For the same reason. I guess we can't forward declare a unique pointer. I could have sworn we were able to. Weird. But obviously, if you just have like a new class pointer, a raw pointer, that should compile fine. And indeed it does. So, are we forced to use a raw pointer then? Because now I have to think, okay, how would we design this so that, like, what's the reason why we need to include both headers within each other, right? So this would be the next question. Why would we need effect? It's because range is in there, right? So obviously range needs to go in here as a dependency because it shouldn't exist in here. So again, this like custom using, I could just get rid of. Plus we realize that it's conflicting with something else, right? So if I replace that with this, and then we still have a dependency on effect right now. Oh, you know what? I just realized, does fall effect rely on effect? It does. Okay. So we are still including it. But yes, apparently with the unique pointer we cannot do this, so to get rid of that dependency, we'd have to move min scale and max scale somewhere else that doesn't share with effect. And I guess one place we could put it is just in Adventures in Listoria. We know Adventures in Listoria doesn't care about Blizzard Snow Emitter, so we can just include that kind of globally. And that would be fine. And inside of effect, I would also have to change this because range doesn't exist now. I've opted to just get rid of it. So inside effect.h, down here, we'll change that to be this. And now we can include Blizzard Snow Emitter, assuming we don't need fall effect. So would we need fall effect? I don't know why we would need fall effect. There's no reason to have fall effect. Oh, down here, because we have to create a fall effect. And a fall effect needs to know where it's from effect.h. So the problem is we would have to include effect.h for, well, why do we need effect.h, right? That's the next question. Oh wait, fall effect in here is fine. That's not the header. I keep doing this. Blizzard Snow Emitter is what we're concerned about. We currently need emitter. We are trying to remove the dependency of effect. That will get rid of the last of the compile errors. This is supposed to be a standard pair, min scale, max scale. So are we good now? We should be good now. IntelliSense is catching up, I presume. So, yes. Because now we have no dependency on effect in the header. So including the Blizzard Snow Emitter header inside of effect.h is now allowed, which will make the Blizzard Snow Effect Snow Emitter class known to header, which is required to initialize this unique pointer. So that should resolve that compiler error in that dependency. The other thing I could have done was move the range using to another header file. I really didn't want to do that. There was really no point. I feel like the range thing was a little ambitious considering we have something else called range too. So yeah. Now it's saying min scale and max scale are unidentified, which I would have to include adventures in the story.h for it, right? But I could also just throw those in here. If I throw it into this header, again, this is the only place that uses min and max scale. So equally, Blizzard Snow Emitter.cpp benefits from it. I think effect.h needs it too though, because that's where we originally defined it, right? Here. So this would need it, but that includes Blizzard Snow Emitter.h as well. So we should be good. That is how the dependency tree goes. Fun, fun. Header dependency silliness. I hope we have a build now so we can try this out. So let me go grab the controller real quick because I know we're gonna have to test with it. There's one very close by, so that works. And I just have to plug it in. Okay, couple more things to do here. Missing type specifier of range again. Standard pair. This is for the Blizzard itself. Okay, min range, max range. Oh, max range. Does it not exist in here? Well, this is a CPP file, so including... Well, it should come from Blizzard Snow Emitter. So that should be fine. Min scale. Did I put range? Oops. Scale. Okay, looks like we're finally built, so that's good. Just linking. Alrighty, so strategy for Skeleton Fire Mage does not exist, so I think we just forgot to change, yeah, the Skeleton Fire Mage strategy that was defined in both the Frost Mage and the Fire Mage to just be called Skeleton Mage now. So that's fair. That error should be happening, otherwise the error is not properly detecting that. Okay, and now we get to test this out. I already have a Skeleton Frost Mage inside 4.1, so we just have to see... Oh, there's another crash. Invalid S2F argument, so somehow I included a string or something when I was supposed to have a float. This is supposed to be for what? There are no autos displaying. Why? Initialize monster data. For ability... It looks like it would be for the first ability. If there's nothing in here yet. Because it successfully detects 3 objects. Blizzard, freeze, ground. So it detects that far. Invalid S2F. Is it not able to parse this? Oh shoot, I forgot it's a variable name. That's right. So what we have to do... So this is what I did. I forgot I did this. Is I put the variable name here called Blizzard Radius. But I don't think that's reasonable in the sense of we would have to match the Blizzard Radius from... Well, I guess it is possible. In theory, we just specify like the dot syntax for that variable. We can go into monster strategies dot skeleton mage. Let me see. Because this is called... Yeah, we can go monster strategy dot skeleton mage dot blizzard radius. And that's how we could accomplish that. It's a little weird. Skeleton space mage dot blizzard radius. And then we can grab that, and that would be our value we pass in to get. So we would do data dot get property, and get property accepts the string we read in, so it'd be would it be a bit? Yeah, ability dot get string 3, and then based on that property we get a float. So we do get float, get a real on that, and that will actually be the value we're supposed to use. It's kind of weird. It's like at the redirect one time, but yeah, it refers to a key that's located somewhere else in memory. So let's go ahead and try that again. I forgot that's what I did, and that is fine. I'm okay with doing that. I intended to do that, that way the variable for the blizzard radius is in one location. I don't have to change... If we ever change it, I don't want to have to change it in 2 places. Okay, so... let's go ahead and try to trigger the blizzard now and see what it looks like. Because we have no idea what this looks like right now. We've just created it. So it should... if it tries to cast the other ability, then we'll just see nothing. Otherwise, we should see a targeting circle. Hopefully. We also have to handle the cancelled casting. I think that's already handled, though. So we're just waiting for it to generate mana, because it costs 60 mana, and it would have... I think it's a 60% chance. Yeah, 60% to cast it. So it should be good now. I don't know why it hasn't done it yet. Something's not right. It definitely should have casted it by now. Huh. Let me just think if there's something obvious I missed here. Well, I guess we'll see if monster update gets called. That would be like our first step. Are we even like trying to cast an ability? Maybe we should see if we can trigger this first. And go from there. Because clearly it's not performing the animation, right? So... okay, we are here, so that's a good thing. Current cast is freeze ground, so that's not what we want, so we'll just continue. I'm guessing the animation would stop immediately if it's casting Freeze Ground, so that makes sense. Freeze Ground again. Freeze Ground. It is 20%, right? So it should cast the other ability eventually. Freeze Ground. Is it not subtracting the mana? Maybe that's the issue, right? Oh, what if the cast timer doesn't trigger Perform Spell? Like, I didn't think about this. Do we even trigger Perform Spell with that? I don't think I can check because there's no runnable code. Shoot. Okay, well, when the cast finishes, we're supposed to subtract mana, right? So the next step after this would be to pause and update. When we get to... Where is it? If is alive... Its abilities, this is already casting it. And then if we're casting an ability, that makes current cast active. Where's the current cast check? It should be counting down that timer. Here it is. So if current cast timer is less than or equal to 0, we're supposed to perform the spell. So that's where that gets called. And the current cast was freeze time or freeze ground. So that should subtract the mana, right? So we go in here. Oh. Why are we here? What? Okay. I guess we don't really get that unless we... Yeah. Okay. Let me... We're gonna have to add in or go to debug mode for this one. Or I add in something here that says we casted it, at least. Casted, freeze, ground. But at the same time, if we do cast it, it's supposed to subtract mana. So no matter what, the mana should have been subtracted. Right? Like, where does the mana get subtracted? Because that's the big thing. Right here, under Perform Spell. So it should have ran as well right after Perform Idle Animation. Okay. Let me just try that again. I guess we'll breakpoint there if we have to. I'm gonna remove the other breakpoints for now. Because at least we know it's performing them. Just for some reason we're always getting freeze ground when in reality it should be a decent mix, but maybe 20% is just so high that it's just gonna keep happening anyway. Oh, let's get out there. That's not what I was looking for, but yeah. Resume, please. Okay, so basically when we get to the line where the mana is supposed to get subtracted, at least we'll be able to see that that occurs, because we already know freeze ground occurs. Let me see. That would be in... I have an output window that I should be keeping an eye on, I guess. So far no triggers, so something's up. Oh, I see. The perform spell function, yeah, is optimized out. Okay. We need to compile it in debug mode then. I didn't even realize that. Oops. I was trying to do it the lazy way. Oh, what was that? Oh, I see. This needs to be changed to struct. That's fine. It was just initially seen as a class, so seeing as a struct would be great. Compile takes so long. Goodness. I feel like I should add some tags on Twitch. Like, what would we put here? Software development. That one's okay. What do we do here? We do C++, right? Well, that's not a thing. What about CPP? Maybe that's a thing. Oh, it is. Cool. What else do we do here? Game dev? Anything else? Yeah, this is gonna take forever now because debug is very slow. Understandably so, though. Also, there was that day where I glitched out the game and got a bunch of items, so even the profile loads a little slowly because of how many items there are to load now. Oh yeah, this map's quite big. Debug is so much slower. Naturally. Like, I'm just trying to think what, out of all of the possibilities, what could cause it not to cast or trigger? Like, really? I just find that strange. Because 20% is 20%, but like, it shouldn't be happening all the time. When it was 10% for the Fire Mage, it rarely ever casted it, so going up to 20%, 1 in 5 chance every second, I guess that's quite a bit. Like, let's think about that for a second. If every second you have a 20% chance of casting your ability, and it only costs 20, it would have to be... You would have to get 3... Oh, it would be a lot more, wouldn't it? Like, let's think about it this way. You have 30 MP, you get 5 MP per second. So it takes 6 seconds to get to 60 MP, which means you have to fail 20% 6 times, which is very unlikely, considering 20% of the time you're just going to cast Freeze Ground. So maybe we're just getting super unlucky. That's what I'm guessing is happening. So after 6 seconds, it should have... Yeah, This will be freeze ground. Naturally, MP was at 35. It costs 30, so it should be down to 5 MP after this line, which it is the case. It'll build back up. That takes 5 seconds. Then it will probably cast freeze ground again before it hits... Okay, so this time it hits 60. Still casted freeze ground. Which is unlucky because it now had a chance, a 60% chance to cast Blizzard. So it's back to 30 now. So I guess maybe... Oh, there it is. Okay, good. It actually did it. I guess I was just being unlucky. Right? Also, I just died. Why'd I die? There's some particles, so we didn't get to see anything. What happened? Okay, so my first guess is that we didn't properly do the tick damage. That's probably the first thing. Okay. Oh, the tick rate was for the damage, wasn't it? Hold on. Blizzard tick damage. Blizzard tick rate. What's Blizzard tick rate? Every second. Okay. And then the damage we were supposed to do was get attack times tick damage mult, which is 0.5. So half damage. The damage that comes out is right here, which I guess is the same damage. So I guess what we'll do for now to test this better is we'll just disable freeze ground. And if we do that, then we'll only be focusing on this ability. And we can debug it, because clearly we're gonna have to debug it more. Okay. So the tick rate is 1 second. The tick timer starts at tick rate, which makes sense. It causes hurt, which is fine. So, okay. We're gonna have to try it again, obviously. Let me just... Well, actually, I didn't want to restart. I just wanted to continue, but... Ugh. I have to load the level again. No. No. Alright, so we'll debug this now. Either it did multiple ticks faster than I expected, or we took too much damage. It's gonna be one of the two. Otherwise, it's working correctly so far, minus the particles. So the particles are another matter. We're gonna see what happened there. I also still don't know why the sprites are the way they are, but they are. At least we're finally doing the fun stuff again, and not spending another day refactoring, right? At least that's happening, finally. I'm happy for that. Where is... Normally it pops up a terminal window. I don't understand. But we can view the log over here. That's fine. Maybe it's right here and I'm just not... Oh, there it is. Yes. Okay. Anyway. So we disabled freeze ground, which I guess is fine for, testing purposes. So maybe restarting was a good idea. Just, it takes forever to load a level. Right? So, here... Tick timer is 1. Okay, so this is after. Tick rate resets it to 1. And then we take damage. The damage is 20. And then it does it again. If tick timer is less than or equal to 0... Alright, hold on. Something's not right. So tick timer has just become 0 again. At 0.02. So I see we took some damage, so that's fine. Okay. It looks like it's working fine so far. Oh. Does this not do iframes at all? Okay, I guess this doesn't do iframes, but like, still, this is only supposed to be doing it once a second. What is up with this? Is it because tick timer... No, tick timer is not an effect thing, right? That's lifetime. So that's something completely different. I don't understand why it's so quick. Like, we just basically insta-died, right? Without any chance. So, what is up with that? I might just load up a smaller stage for testing, because this takes a long time to load. It's a very large stage. What I should do is some loading optimization eventually. So a lot of the loading is just figuring out like how to form the objects from the tile set. So there's a lot of optimizing that could be done there. Is that worth doing? I feel like the loading times are a big hurdle for this game. It's like, what do we have to wait for loading, right? Like, so what we could do is when a map loads, or when we create a new map, we run it through like an optimizer, which generates like a bunch of data that the game uses to make it loading faster, of course. So I think that's what we're looking for. So I would like to not die this time, so I think I could force the player's health to not be 349, but be much higher. So let's do that at least. I'm gonna go into the on-user update loop, which is currently running. It's just the game's paused, but on-user update runs every frame. So we're in the base class and can do that. And I'm just gonna breakpoint right here. And we're gonna go into the player class. So we're gonna go to game. There should be a player here somewhere. Hopefully. Come on, you can do it. Come on. I believe. Really? Is it because the search depth is so high? Maybe. Okay, you know what? I'll just add a watch game player. And let's go ahead and look at max health. I think it's under a stats structure. Yeah. Base stats. So max or health. Yes, health. So if I... is this not mutable? Why would it not be mutable? I wonder. Are any of these? Okay, these are mutable. Why isn't this one mutable? It's kind of weird. I mean, it's in a map. I would expect it to be. Unless it's something weird. Compressed pair. Okay, maybe we can't edit it that way. But... okay. We could try and run a function. Like force set base... well, that would be in player. But I could basically call like set base stat. I didn't think setting this would be so hard, but yeah. Okay, so we will try that. Oh, wait. Well, let me just go here. Right? Is that what this does? No. Where is... I know there's something you can do to just move the... just move into something, but I don't know if that's... It might only be possible in certain places. Like, because the stack, or the line is here right now. I think there's something we could definitely... oh, wait, did I just do it? Oh yeah, run execution to here. Run execution to here. I guess that's not possible unless we make a way into it, like a code path. But let me go back here, and we will... I don't think I can change the code and continue running stuff. But let's test it, right? I don't think that's a thing. Yeah, okay. We don't have, like, live recompilation or whatever. I just don't have to stop it again. I'll be honest. So let me edit... oh, that's what I could have done. I could edit the save file. Just to not die. Alright, anyways. This will make it easier to debug if we just have a file that has a bunch of health. I never thought I would need that, but it would help. Either that or we add like some kind of invulnerability flag so we would take damage but we wouldn't actually die. Like that's another way to do it. But for now, I will edit save file 1 to make it so this character just has a bunch of health. Like at least that much health. Maybe more. To the point where it's so ridiculous that we won't die easily. We can actually test stuff. And then what I would like to do is first confirm if like this is running every frame and like triggering every frame, and then ask the question, why is it triggering every frame, right? Because the tick timer should start at 1, go down to 0, get triggered, get reset back up to 1, then this isn't running anymore, and etc, etc, etc. It just keeps doing that. That is my hope anyway. Okay, so while this is a level 1 wizard, it also has a bunch of health. It also doesn't have all the areas unlocked. Okay. So I can already tell at the top of the screen there's a lot of numbers to the health, so it worked, despite it being kind of silly. And that just makes it so we won't die even if we keep taking damage every frame. There will be other issues with it, such as like a bunch of damage numbers appearing over and over again, and maybe a few other assorted problems, but at least it makes debugging possible, so that's good. Because at the worst, the game still runs at a 1/30th tick rate per frame. So even if your game chugs along below 30 FPS, the game only runs a 30th of a frame, 30th of a second every time. So I like I was like still have to teach me how to attack. That's funny. Oh. Okay. Well, one issue, which I think is clear now, is that we are always in range. I also can't pause for some reason. That's weird. Like, I actually cannot pause. Can you not... You can't pause while taking damage. I think that makes sense. Like, if you get... That's weird, though. That's funny. I don't know if that's supposed to be a thing. I don't think it's supposed to be a thing, but it is. So I didn't think about this, but... Maybe the radius is wrong? Like, very wrong? Right? Radius, 350. Ooh, that's probably the issue. Well, that's one of the issues, is that we will constantly take damage in this giant radius. This radius is not scaled to the tile size. So that's one thing to fix. But the next question is, why is the tick timer still messing up, right? Am I going to force this to just draw its tick timer on screen now, just to debug it? Because I think, regardless, like, it's clearly going up by 20 each tick, so that's clear, but the ticks themselves are wrong. Am I, like, dividing it by accident or something? Because the tick rate is correct. The FE elapsed time goes down by, like, what? A 1/5 of a second, which is fine for this. It's like, oh. That's interesting. This line, this automatically goes to 0. Why? Something causes this to go to 0 between here and there. So let me throw a watch on it, or a breakpoint on it, rather. when it changes. Let's say when it's disable breakpoint once hit. No, at a condition when tick timer is well, no, this wouldn't be where we do that. We want to add we want a breakpoint when it changes. There we go. So breakpoint on that value. Or when this changes. So that didn't work. What? Did not break on this value? Break when... Okay, hold on. Breakpoint... Break when value changes, right? Let me see. Add as a watch real quick. And... I'm confused. That's not... It's just getting set to 0 somewhere, and it's not telling me when. Like, after this, it's 1. So... It's 1 right now. And then we have snow update, which it's still 1, so I need to watch this. That's what I need to watch. Like, this blizzard instance or whatever is what I need to observe. Maybe I need to back up a little bit. So update effects. Like this tick timer. Okay, so I have break when value changes. Okay, let's go back out to like here. Because what I want to do is maybe have it in... Look at the list itself, right? So I think that's... Where's the effect list? Because we're going to pull that up now. Is it under the effect class? It's not. So the game class manages that. So let's look at defines. So effect list, if it exists here. I don't... Oh. Is this? No. These are just random backdrops and foreground things. Alright. So let's look at... Here's update effects. Update effects is emitter list. And background effects, foreground effects. Oh, what is this? Oh no. Fall effect, fall effect, fall effect. Oh, these are all the like snow particles that are supposed to appear, which they don't right now, so we have to see about that. It says lifetime is infinity. I guess that's correct, in theory. So it doesn't say there are background effects, which I think is correct because we weren't taking damage. Is that right? Is it a background effect? I think it is. So if it's a background effect, I guess what we're gonna do, let's... Yeah, I'm just... There's a lot going on in my head right now about... Okay, so... Oh, it's a foreground effect. I think that's fine. It's just a matter of... Okay, which foreground effect are we looking at right now? So I guess we had to find that then. I'm gonna go back to here. Falling breakpoint was hit. Tick timer changed, which is okay. See, but like tick timer changed. Okay, so it says falling breakpoint was hit again. Unfortunately, the only time it says it changes. Oh, here we go. Oh, there's a random breakpoint I accidentally put. It says the only time it's hit is when it's here. Which is strange. Is there like just multiples of this? I don't know. It's like... it just keeps running, but why would it keep running? Is this different every time? It's always 0.03. Which makes sense, we're waiting like a short amount of time for each frame. Something is setting this to 0 every time. Just have to figure out what. Okay, so let's start back at the beginning where it gets casted, because it has to get casted again, right? So we'll breakpoint there, and then we'll keep track of it from, oops, keep track of it from here. I think that's fair. No, I didn't want to restart. Oops. God. That is not what I wanted. This is strange though. I was not expecting something like that to be the problem. But yeah, maybe add map loading optimization to the list of things to do next. Not only would it help debug loading times, but even in the main game, even if the loading time is only like a second or two, that's still like a disruption to gameplay, when it could be essentially instant. Effectively, the only thing it's doing here is preparing all the... parsing all the tiles into actual, like, sensible game object interactables. So if that can all be turned into something that just runs, or can be read from, like, we can run an optimizer on the maps, and it generates that data, and then just use that data. We don't have to generate it ourselves, which would be great. So it's kind of like a pre-generation of the world. That would be nice. I wanna start really entertaining that idea. Like, what is it gonna require? How do we save that data, etc. Right? I think it would be a fun thing to look at next, because optimizing the level loading would be great. We're getting to that point where if a map is large enough, we're gonna run into issues. That's just how it is. Okay, so it should be soon. There's the precast marker. And then this is the creation of the effect, right? So we're gonna expect that we go into add effect after all that's done and put it into a list. So at this point, the effect has been created. Wait, that's a fall effect. Hold on. Why is that a fall effect? It doesn't... What? Oh, I did it to the wrong... Oops, okay. I did the wrong add effect. The add effect we're actually calling is... let me see. It just has unique and whether or not it's in the foreground. I think that's this one. No, it is this one. Well, it's definitely not a fall effect. Oh, we're creating the 100 fall effects first, right? The snows? Okay. That should be fine, right? Yeah. That should be just fine. So let's run through that. Oh. Dang it. Okay. I forgot to change to the other character. Oops. Yeah. The other character with a bunch of health. Alright. So basically, what we should have done was wait for this constructor, the part right after it, to end first, and then breakpoint into add effect. Why isn't this popping up? Blizzard. Let's see. BP. So right after this is actually where we want to breakpoint. And then the next add effect call will be the actual effect. We can see it and decide, okay, what is actually happening here? We can actually start keeping track of the variables for it. Also, I will be right back. Time to try this again. Alright. And hopefully make some progress on the debugging. Like, the next idea, if this doesn't work, is to just outright draw the tick rate on screen and see it. see its value in real time, but from the looks of it, it's just resetting to 0 every frame somehow. So that's telling me that we are doing something incredibly bad or wrong. It's just not looking right now. So gotta figure out what's going on. Yeah, now that I'm seeing how long it takes to get into a map of this size, on debug mode, it worries me in terms of like testing more. Because we have to rely on debug mode a lot of times, and if it gets this bad, then the least we could do is fix up the loading, which would be a nice optimization for your testing purposes, right? Okay, so we're just gonna wait here for the blizzard to trigger. And now, it should have just done all the snow stuff, so the constructor of Blizzard is now complete. The tick rate has been set, and so the next thing that should be called is the add effect function to add in the blizzard effect. So now we get what we want. The next thing we're going to do is watch in here, here, because it's going to be a foreground effect, right? So, yeah, it's going to be inserted in here. The size of the list is 100. It's a vector, so we expect that the blizzard will be placed at the end of that, and then it returns a reference to that effect. So we can leave here, and the result gives us something to observe. If I can... Well, it doesn't say, but yes. Because I guess the return value isn't used here, but we know it's at the end of the list now. And it's currently in background effects to be inserted. It hasn't actually been inserted yet. Game background effects to be inserted. Oh, it's already been inserted according to this. Oh wait, it's foreground effects, excuse me. So foreground effects to be inserted, there's 101 items, and the very last item is our blizzard. We can tell because of the lifetime, it's not infinity. So the next thing to do is to see what happens with that. Foreground effects to be inserted. Should be run on the next tick to push them into the foreground effects. So I'm just going to go to here, and it's going to start inserting them. So each time it does, it's going to run this one time, and then it's going to clear them. So after it's done all of these, they should all be in foreground effects now, in that order. Which means our... blizzard should be at the bottom here, that we can now observe and take a look at any point in time, because this pointer is not going anywhere. Now the effects might move the blizzard to a new container, but the pointer itself has the information we're interested in, which in this case is the tick time, which is located right here, the tick timer. We want to see break when that value changes, right? That's what we're interested in right now. So we're going to go ahead and now run this program, and it's going to say that the following breakpoint was hit. Tick timer changes in process. So again, we're seeing that whole, every time it gets hit, it changes. So it changed to 1 here. Then we hit resume. Now it's going to change again. It says it's going to be 0 again. So we're running into that issue where it's getting set to 0 somehow, and it's not getting to set to any other value. Why is the question. So I guess the next step is to see, okay, if we run... We could either output the tick rate on screen and see what it's doing like that, but we're clearly going just from 1 to 0 every time we enter in here. So something is up with that. Let's observe the... Let me go back to on user update. Can we observe real quick what everything looks like in here? So game foreground effects. Just take a look at stuff here. The lifetime has gone up for all the snow stuff. There's another snow that spawned. And we still have a lifetime of 5 on this blizzard effect. So that to me is interesting. The lifetime is still 5. The lifetime should be going down, as in... Maybe it's this return true that's the problem. Is it just constantly calling it, maybe? Return true. What is the return function? Return 4. I guess that's what I want to know, right? Because maybe I'm using it wrong and that's causing all the problems. Maybe it's to determine when to kill it, which would be its lifetime. So let's look at like a different effect, right? Oh, I see. We're supposed to call the parents function. How am I... How... Oh, that's why nothing's updating. It makes sense now. So that tells me that I kind of need a way to let myself know, hey, we're supposed to do this, right? Like, I wish there was a clear way to say, hey, you're supposed to call your parents function when you do this. In theory, that's how it should work. How can I enforce that? Can I enforce it by, like, putting... I mean, I could make a comment that just says that's what we're supposed to do. That's one way to do it. Maybe I'm supposed to make you return, like, a bool that has... I'm just thinking about how I could implement this better, right? Is there a case where I don't want to call this? Right? I want to say no. I don't think there's a case where I ever don't want to call this, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. If we overwrite it, we expect to call this. So this to me looks like bad design. What we should have is an internal update function that always runs, right? And the override is just for this local child to do its thing, but not mess with anything else. It looks like we always call that. This to me is bad design, and we're gonna redesign it, because that to me just screams like full of errors. Full of potential errors. So what we're supposed to do now is return effect update elapsed time, which is stupid. So next time we're going to make sure that doesn't happen by removing this whole system to begin with. I think I wanted to offer the flexibility of not being able to draw what the default effect does. That's my guess. And maybe the flexibility of not being able to call run or effect update? Maybe. But then I think I would want to add a comment that says, in most cases, update should call effect update and affect draw after. I think that to me is very fair. Note, in most cases, call effect update in your overwritten function. And for this one, in most cases, call draw update or effect draw in your overwritten function. I think that's a very fair thing to add. That way, at least I'll know. And I would do it for all of these. That way, if I ever copy and paste just to make it easier on myself, at least I'll see it every time and know that is the way it was designed. Do I like it? I'm kind of against it, but at the same time, is that flexibility helpful sometimes? But then I would argue I've never used it before, so maybe it's not helpful. Right? Maybe it's not helpful. So that's interesting. I just probably messed up all of that because of just that right there. Oh. Okay, well, the tick timer still re-triggers every single frame, so we still have the same issue. We just have elapsed time actually counting down now. But that doesn't change the fact that the tick timer is still problematic. For some reason. I don't actually know what is causing that yet. But at least it's drawing the circle, so that's good. That part's okay. Like, could this be getting called more than once per frame? That would be the only way for it to do that, really, is if this is getting called a crazy amount of times, which I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's only getting called once per frame. Like, the numbers don't add up either, right? When we look at them, it's like, how does it go from 1 to 0 before it gets here again? Right now it's 1, so what is happening? Wait, is tick timer an int? Ah, shit. Wait, how's... God. Oh, buddy. Is tick rated? Tick rate is also an int. Damn it. You know, sometimes that's just how it be. Okay. Fair play, fair play. Oh, that's dumb. Okay. Once I saw it go from 1 to 0, at that moment, I'm like, oh. Floating point, integer. Great, 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 great. That is the best way to have a bug, is you just have the wrong type. And what's funny is I've debugged it a bunch, so I should have saw it, it said int tick timer instead of float tick timer, right? Oh, so let's fix the radius thing too, real quick while we're here. before we actually run it one more time. Because I have to go soon, so I'm really gonna brew the idea of improving load times for tomorrow's project. I think that would be a really fun project. Okay, blizzard radius, yes. So we do have to fix that. I think I can just do config pixels or pixel, yeah, pixels. It converts unit distance to pixels, which is what we want. Yes. Converts unit distance to pixels. Every 100 units is 24 pixels. So that is exactly what we want. D. Did I type a letter by accident? I must have. Oh my goodness, I typed a space. That's silly. Okay, so now we're recompiling for the last time today, hopefully. And then tomorrow, let's maybe do loading map optimizations. Maybe we'll change course. This whole week has literally just been refactor, 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 and make one spell. So maybe we can get a little bit of relief by doing something a little different just for Friday as a little treat. That might be fun. And then we'll just do the rest of the spell stuff. Now that everything's working again and we understand where the problems were with the bugginess, implementing the rest should be very easy. I think we got a full dose of how to implement our effects again, because I guess I forgot at some point that I was supposed to call the parent update and draw functions, and I wish that comment was there earlier, because if it was, it probably would have saved me from making that mistake. So, consequences of coming back to your codebase after a long time and just trying to add something without realizing what you're supposed to do. Yeah. You always run that risk of you have to try and you have to assume that you're gonna forget how to implement things, where things are at, what they're named. You need to have methods to make that easier. Okay. So I assume this is actually working right this time. Tick timer is still 1. Why would tick... Okay, it's updated. It was just lagging behind. It's actually working now, so that's good. This circle is not the right size for the radius, though. I don't know why the radius didn't get scaled. That's funny. But it does match the actual radius, just... For some reason, the circle is tiny. The little snow particles are there, it's just not... I think it's doing the snow particles in only the upper left region. Yeah, looks like it. So, probably need to look into that one, why it's doing that. Okay. At least we have stuff running and working and we're not insta-dying to it anymore. Let me see the scale. Okay, so we didn't touch the scale, that's why. So the scale here should be... Oh wait, that's speed. Does it even have a scale? Size. That is right after upper level. Radius times 2 divided by 100 times 1. Radius times 2 divided by 100. The radius should be in pixels, not... Yeah, the radius should be in pixels, so it's radius times 2. Okay, so that's fixed. Radius is in pixels. Blizzard snow emitter is now emitting across the entire radius. So let's look at that real quick. Distance, starting Z, gravity. So the angle is what we're curious about. How does it choose the position? So it chooses a distance. Okay, but how does it get the angle? I don't even see where distance gets used here. It just says position plus time to fall with some X speed. It's like it's not incorporating anything else yet. It's like I ignored the distance thing. It should be a distance and an angle, right? The angle should be random between 0 and 2 pi radians. We should be able to construct something to add to this. So the pause, we're going to add a VF2D that is polar coordinates containing the magnitude and the angle, and then convert it to Cartesian coordinates, and then add that to our current position. And that should dynamically choose a location around the circle based on that radius. And then we should be happy after that. Try it one more time. I'm gonna make sure it works okay. We get the intended effect. The circle is large and the snow particles are kind of everywhere. It looks like the density is not very high, so I will increase the density next time. But I hope you all enjoyed today's stream. Today was pretty fun. Again, got to actually run the game a few times and test something graphical today, so that's fun. A lot more fun than what we've been doing, just staring at code refactoring all day, right? So that's nice. This looks a bit better. I think the circle should stay though. I'm not sure why it doesn't, but it's supposed to be a part of it, so. But yeah. We have snowy particles. Yay! That's fun. Okay. So that's that for now. I'll also make a note that when it gets destroyed, the snow particles have to fade away with it. So let's add that to the to-do. Snow particles must fade away when Blizzard dies. Blizzard target circle should remain. Well, not the targeting circle, but the blue area circle should remain. During the duration of the attack. So we'll have those for next time. But we're good to do a commit here. We're at a good spot. So let's go ahead and commit. I hope you all enjoyed today's stream. Today was fun. Implemented Blizzard ability. Added get ordered keys range optimization. Oh, we also have to do add comments to affect child update and draw functions or declarations. Yeah, just minor things that we can do next time. Always having a to-do is good. That way you know where you left off and what you can work on. But I think we're going to take a look at map loading optimizing tomorrow. That's going to be interesting and probably a bit challenging, given I remember what the code looks like for it, and it's pretty messy, trust me. We're going to have a fun time dissecting that one, so. Yeah. Hope you all had fun today. For those of you that tuned in, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.